Hello and welcome back to the final episode of my Zero to Hero Blood Death Knight series. I'm so glad to finally be able to make this video because I have some exciting plans to talk about for the Season 3 of The War Within, which was announced recently to start on the 5th of August. So, in light of that, I myself have some announcements to make. First of all, some of you might have already heard that I'm going to take part in a content creator challenge. That's right, I was invited to play alongside Kusi Slayer, Calibara, Definitely Not Vlad and Obey Vow to do a Zero to Hero day early in the new season to see how far we get. The RNG gods have decided for me to be a BM hunter in this challenge. I'm very excited to play with the others. I'm sure it will be a lot of fun and chaos. I linked their channels in the description, so please make sure to check them out after this video. The other announcement is a poll for Season 3. I decided it's time to play another healer and to go immediately for the 3k again. So please vote for which healer do you want me to see play till 3k IO rating. Keep in mind that I have no idea how the balancing will turn out, but I'm gonna play whichever you guys vote for. Holy Paladin is missing of course because I've already done that this season. The poll will be up for the next 2 weeks. I pray you guys choose a healer with an interrupt for me. Please, with cherry on top? One more thing. I will have in the upcoming weeks a video about my approach to Mythic Plus. Because many of you reached out to me about how you haven't really done any before, not sure what to play, how to apply, so I'm going to make a video where I explain how I got into Mythic Plus, how do I deal with anxiety, about the mindset going into a key, and how to handle certain situations. Even if you're a seasoned Mythic Plus player, I'd still recommend you give it a watch once it's out. Okay, now back to the DK. Last time I reached 2168 rating and 666 item level, which feels like it was a long time ago, but the heat wave and my health issues try their best to keep me away. I say this with a heavy heart, but I kind of cut this Zero to Hero series short. And by that I mean I hit 2500, which puts me to Keystone Hero. But I didn't time all 10s. Before you pick up your pitchforks, hear me out first. The constant heat wave and my recurring health problem was not the only reason for this, but also the fact that Season 2 of The War Within is kind of over. If you look into LFG, especially at plus 10s, you'll see two kinds of players. One are fresh level clowns who purchased a singular boost for a plus 10 and now are trying to keep doing their 10s on a character that has no gear, forcing other people to boost them without any payment. The second kind of players are the I'm 3k clowns. These guys' ego are usually bigger than a guy who ate from a McDonald's drive-thru for a month straight. And yeah, sure, there will be exceptions, but most of the time, these guys are obnoxious and backseat or just straight up throw the key by ignoring mechanics, claiming, oh well, I'm 3k, nothing can hurt me. Apart from this, I don't know about you guys, but I think it's healthy to take vow in lesser portions sometimes. At times like when a season is ending in a few weeks, it's nice to play some other games. I, for example, have recently resubbed to Final Fantasy XIV to play through the story, which I do once the expansion ran its course, and I've been playing a ton of Marvel Rivals as well recently. Tell me in the games what sort of comments do you guys like to play when you're not playing WoW? Post-edit saloon here. Yes, I did say tell me in the games what comments do you play? It was one of the best bloopers I did in a long time. Anyway, tell me in the comments what games do you guys like to play? Anyway, Enough yapping about non-DK stuff. After my last video and before that as well, a lot of you have been recommending me to try Deathbringer. My main holdback on this was my crafted items and the Soul Reaper talent point. So for this key, I've decided to give it a try. Priority +8. Last time I was here, I made my own route and pulling strategy for this dungeon. I once again pulled back the Footman, Patrolling Night pack and a Sharpshooter pack and asked the group specifically not to last yet. Look how nicely the trash and the players are bunched up. Call me weird, but I'm very proud of this pull strat here because it greatly reduces the risk of pulling extra, which usually leads to wipes. Compared to last time, I have made some changes. One of them was the next pull. I went for a big pull here by pulling all the remaining sharpshooters and the other patrolling night pack together with Suleiman and Lust. It was a little messy and chaotic, but eventually I got where I wanted to, and the group did exactly as I wanted them to. I also made sure this time that on the pull to the third mini-boss, I grabbed the sharpshooter out of the window so we won't miss the 0.5% again. An ad or two went astray for a few seconds while I was gathering, but nobody got harmed, so I'd say overall this was a nice juicy pull. There was one mistake I made in my route, which was not knowing when to last second time. The mage asked me, but I couldn't really answer this question, which came back to haunt me later. In the big hole, I was able to extract the patrolling light spawn pack from everything else, pulling them back a bit, and our group bursted it down fast, so they were out of the way. On the last boss, the Lost came back to haunt me, as I'm convinced if we had used it on the pack when the mage asked, we could have had it up again for the second phase of this boss. But oh well. Overall, I was very proud of how this run went, because everything happened as I planned it, and I think that's one of the most rewarding feelings of being a tank, when your route is executed perfectly. After this run, the mage asked if anyone wants to tag along for his +10 floodgate, and I thought, why not? This will be my first +10 attempt on the DK. Being Deathbringer and using the tips you guys gave me about the Tombstone and Bonestorm combo made this pull a lot easier, plus the healer also gave me an external while gathering. I once again felt great about this pull as everything went according to plan. I still need to practice about timing it right because there were moments where I used it when Dancing Rune weapon was already ready, but at least I've used them a lot more frequently now compared to before. I was really struggling on Sun 9 keeping the Bone Shield charges up. Call me old, but back in my day, Bone Shield just used to be a 10-minute buff you used, and it was very easy to forget, even with the weak aura to keep it maintained. Deathbringer solved this issue by a lot, and I felt a lot tankier than before, so thank you everyone for recommending it to me and the tips you gave alongside. This floodgate went smooth like butter. We had one singular death the entire run, and everything went according to plan once again, thus timing our first +10 on the Blood DK. After this floodgate, I decided to invest a small fortune to recraft all my crafted items into World Mastery for Deathbringer. I made a huge mistake here that I didn't notice for quite some time. What do you think I messed up? A. I picked the wrong missive for an item. B. I accidentally added one more 0 to the tip and I scammed myself out of 10k gold. Or C. After recrafting the weapon, I forgot to put the DK rune enchant back on. If you picked B, you're a clown. I can't possibly be that dumb, because it was indeed C, which proves I'm an even bigger clown than you'll ever be. I did the next 2 +10s without DK rune enchant. Yep, embarrassing, isn't it? The next +10 was Dark Flame Cleft. I really started to hate this first part of the dungeon. I'm sure I'm not the only tank who hates this. I want to pull more at the start, but as a DK it just feels so slow and awkward if I run ahead, I feel like. All my pulls in this first bit were kinda crap in my opinion, but the Resto Shaman was very goated, so we got through this without a single death. The trash before the second boss kinda scared the shit out of me, as I procced Purgatory here, which I didn't expect at all. Thankfully, I recovered, so we carried on. Despite having a Warlock, I opted not to skip the trash before the Candle King, because I had no idea where to pick up the extra percentage, and I didn't want to figure this out mid-run. I started the boss by pulling him to us, where everyone stood together, and went from there slowly. I think this group did a fantastic job of handling the wax copies and the interrupts. That made this boss easy peasy. After the cart escort, the Warlock went AFK, while we all jumped in, and we were nervously waiting for him to return. I was wondering what would happen if he didn't come back in time, but thankfully we won't need to find out. On the last boss I was on candle duty as per usual, but the group handled everything perfectly. We had only 2 deaths the whole run, so I'd say overall it was pretty smooth. So that's another +10 in the bag. As this was recorded across 2 weeks or so, I have some absolutely diabolical vaults to show you. Last time I had to take a socket because we had 2 trinkets and a really bad wrist on offer. Now I had not 1, but 2 more trinkets. I don't need these, man. I'm perfectly happy with the ones I got. And I know at the start of the next season I'll be absolutely shafted and won't have a good trinket for the whole series. I'm calling it now. I'm cursed, I swear. On my way to the next dungeon, the portal room stopped working. At first I thought the bronze dragonflight went on strike, but I think they were trying to stop me from going into this next key. Theater of Pain +10. This was my own key, and this is one of the main reasons I hate putting groups together, because I somehow managed to pick the biggest pigeon brains on earth. On the first boss I do the usual by pulling the Bloodhorn into the boss. We have 2 enraged spells, and neither of them uses it. This is exactly what I meant earlier with player quality dropping. You have 1 job. Because of this, a bit later, the hero crumbled and died, followed shortly by the hunter, so we had to 4-man half the fight. Then this happens. Wait, what? How did the hunter just die? Oh my god, he released too early! I've never seen that before. WoW never ceases to amaze me. And then on Xav, the druid absolutely lost all of his marbles. He was crying in all caps about losing a PvP fight on a boss. Are you for real? How weak-minded can you be? And he went on and on with the slurs and eventually what I assume were Spanish insults. This guy had a main character syndrome cranked up to the maximum, thinking the demon hunter was on purpose sabotaging him even on the first boss. Absolutely shocking behavior. I've never seen anyone crash out so hard in a key before on something so trivial and stupid too. When he started typing, nothing happened. Nobody was dead yet. The key was still doable, but once he started playing Keyboard Warrior, it was over. While I found it kind of funny, I was also annoyed at the same time because this was my key. Probably won't come as a surprise that the demon hunter left, so that was the key over. I would suggest a therapist for this feral druid because this was not normal behavior over something so dumb and trivial. After this, I signed to someone else's Theater 10, and we timed the key without any major issues. Up next is a Cinderbrew plus 10. Before this key, I had a week break or so because of my eye problem, so I was a bit rusty, which showed on the first pull, because I forgot to pull the two muscles in the middle. Then I pulled those muscles together with the left pack and Chewy with the remains of the left pack. It was kinda weird, but I think it worked out fine. There were still plenty targets for people to hit, so I thought it was okay. Before the first boss, the hunter pinged some mobs in the corner, but I ignored it because those never get pulled and we don't need it for percentage. We will be already over count anyway. After the first boss, I wanted to pull the double hobgoblins together with the casters, but they were too far away, so it kind of became a bit awkward, but at least safe. Apart from these, honestly nothing interesting happened in this key. We didn't even have a single death until the last boss. Everyone was pumping damage, doing mechanics, so there is not much else to say other than well done, people. The last key of the season is Rookery plus 10. And there is one specific part I want to focus on, which is towards the end. Once we went down, I pulled everything until the first corner. Pretty standard pull. Before the last two mobs died, the priest gripped me into the next pack's direction, but that's not where I wanted to go. I of course wanted to pull the civilians into this. Because he gripped me, I just pulled what was in front of me. Then he kept pinging to pull the Ascendant too, and this annoyed me so much because I'm trying to stay alive. I see losing aggro on some stuff, and then on top of all, this dude is just fucking pinging. Let me pull however I like. I hate when people are trying to backseat like this. Don't do this to your tanks, man. Let them pull however they choose as long as it doesn't hinder the key's progression. I felt like I was pulling very reasonably. There was absolutely no need to make me frustrated. We easily +2'd this key, but this last part really ruined the key for me. But this concludes our little blood decay journey. In the end, I reached an item level of 669 and a score of 2520. Here is my quick review of the blood decay. Would I recommend you to try this pack? I would not recommend it for people new to World of Warcraft or for beginner tanks, but if you tanked before, then yes, do give it a try. One of the biggest assets of blood decay is their self-sustain. You are in control of your own health. Healers should never need to heal you at all. Instead, healers should give blood decays an external, like brain suppression or iron bark while they are gathering mobs, but this goes for most tanks, to be honest. In my opinion, it's not an easy tank to learn. I needed a lot of tips from you guys to get better at this pack, and I still feel like there was plenty to improve on. That being said, throughout the whole series, the only time I died early was in that Floodgate +9, where we didn't last and the DPS was kinda low, so everything lived for a long time. So overall, I think I didn't do too bad, but I was struggling at times. Especially as Sandlane. As Deathbringer, I felt a lot tankier, so the pulls were a lot less scary and more manageable. But as far as I'm aware, both hero talents are viable, so it comes down to personal preference really. After trying both, I'm for sure Team Deathbringer. Here is my pros and cons list. Pros. You don't need a healer. You have 2 death grips which are really useful to pull mobs in or even to interrupt something. Slappy hands made gathering fun, but it will be removed. Good damage. You can stand in mechanics, live and heal yourself back up. Death's Advance, Anti-Magic Shell and Icebound Fortitude lets you ignore and get away with a lot of mechanics all other specs would struggle with, and you're immune to either knockbacks, magic, or immune to stun, and with Lichborn you can even remove fear from yourself. Cons: lack of mobility. Your health jumps up and down sometimes, which can be a bit stressful. Intense cooldown management, not beginner friendly. You need runic power for combat chess. Blood decay is really not for me. The lack of mobility really bothered me many times, and keeping myself alive often felt very stressful. I might be looking through my nostalgia glasses, but back in Mists of Pandaria, Blood Decay felt a lot easier to play with a lot of parry, and you could stack your blood shield really high and often felt immortal. I remember solo tanking some bosses in Siege of Orgrimmar, for example Garrosh. I thank you all very much for watching, and I hope you can forgive me for not doing the last 3 remaining plus stands. Please stay tuned for the Content Creator Challenge and make sure to vote for the next healer class for Season 3. Please subscribe if you enjoy my content and consider becoming a channel member as well for some extra support. I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye bye!